All right, we are here for a very special episode of OMG JK. We have my counterpart, MG Siegler, is out in New York.
Yes,
he's
in
waiting
the hotel right now.
High technology stuff. So this morning was a very exciting morning for you, MG. What happened?
So we finally got to, get a glimpse of the Verizon iPhone. Of course, oh, there you go. You popped up. I can see now. So basically, we went to this press conference. I was there with John Biggs from Crunch Gear, and it's still up to the last minute. Neither Apple or Verizon was confirming what was actually being announced.
But there was no doubt here, right? This wasn't something you were like, oh, is this gonna? All right.
Of course. But so we sit down, and they bring out Verizon's president comes out there, Lowell McAdams, and he goes into this whole spiel about Verizon for a little bit, of course, and then he finally, 5 minutes in, he lays it out there, and we're happy to be partnering with Apple, and we're bringing the iPhone to the network.
Okay, so a few points. First, I know there was a lot of speculation over whether or not Steve Jobs was going to be there. He was not there, right? It was Tim Cook.
Yes, Tim Cook was there. So was Phil Schiller, though he didn't get up on stage. Those were the only two main Apple people that I saw there. They had a lot of the PR people for Apple there too, as well.
And the other thing. There was no pricing, right? So they showed off this phone. They're like, "Rah rah, this is really cool," and then like people have no idea how much it's going to cost.
Well, no, they do the base level pricing. So it's going to be $199 for the 16 gigabyte version, or $299 for the 32 gigabyte version, just like with AT&T. But in terms of the plans themselves, no. There's been all that speculation that they're going to have the same plans as what Verizon currently offers. Or
wasn't there like an unlimited data plan? That was one of the rumors that AT&T doesn't offer.
Right, and that's that remains to be seen. I don't know if that means they're evaluating it. There's some talk right now that they're going to see what they exactly want to do with the biggest feature that was announced, which is of course the Hotspot feature. Okay,
right. So let's talk a little bit about the Hotspot feature, because I think that's like the only difference, as far as I know, from the AT&T version of the iPhone. This lets you, instead of doing tethering via Bluetooth or the USB cable, this is actually letting how many devices? 5 devices, right?
Yeah, 5 devices via Wi-Fi. It looks like I got a hands-on with the actual device itself after the thing, and I went through the settings kind of, and it looks like it's going to be something built into iOS 4.2.5, which of course isn't out yet, but it looks like this actually replaces the tethering option that they have now in the OS, and so you can basically choose between either using the Wi-Fi for the hotspot, or you can connect via USB or Bluetooth if you wish to tether, but it's all contained within the same area in the settings app in this iOS 4.2.5.
So did they say anything about why this phone can do the hotspot and AT&T can or can't? I mean, was there any suggestion that the AT&T version of the iPhone could do this with an update? I mean, obviously the network probably would die even worse, but...
So they were... Obviously, Verizon wasn't going to specifically speak to AT&T, and Apple was, kind of dancing around the topic. They didn't want to talk about AT&T at all today.
Okay.
But I think I read shortly after someone reached out, and AT&T sent back a tersely worded email, like, we're evaluating, what to do with it, adding this in the future, whatever. There's no reason they can't add it, except if they don't want to strain the network anymore, obviously.
So I saw you, I think it was an Instagram photo of you with your Verizon iPhone, or you didn't actually get to take one home, right?
They weren't giving them out or anything, review units.
But you got to hold it, right? You got to touch it?
To hold it, I got to play with it.
Did you do was there any kind of speed testing? Was it even possible to do anything like that?
Yeah, I did put it side by side with the current iPhone 4 on AT&T that I have out here with me. Mm-hmm. And the AT&T is so bad. Let me just reiterate how bad it is.
This is like the last time you really get to do this, because now you're going to switch to Verizon. So you need to really embrace the AT&T hate.
I was giving them some crap on Twitter, obviously, within the room, saying the Verizon version of the iPhone 4 is so much faster, but it is. I mean, and there's talk, well, maybe they had a booster in there or something, but I think some people were saying, well, but no one's on the Verizon network yet. It's like we're in New York City, like no one's on the Verizon network right now. They probably have just as many Android phones in that concentrated area that they do iPhones. I mean, come on.
I'm just going to nod my head at that one. I mean, I think it's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if Verizon's had some sort of booster there.
Maybe.
I'd be really surprised if they didn't, actually. I mean, you're unveiling a new phone. Although AT&T, I'm sure they forget all the time.
There's still no excuse for how slow it was. I think Biggs put it in his post, and I saw the same thing. It was like you know, it was like 200K versus 1.5 mega.
Actually,
you know,
if AT&T were smart,
right.
they would have put their little cow things, their booster units, all around that building, so that when you guys did your speed test, it would have been like, oh my god, how can we leave AT&T? It's so good now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that would have convinced people.
Good point.
All right, so I mean, I guess long-term outlook, is this the game changer? I mean, we really knew this was coming. Is there anything you saw today that makes you think it's really going to change the world, you know, Android and everything more than you thought it was a week ago?
Well, you know, I think it'll obviously be a huge hit. It's kind of cool that they're giving it to exclusively to Verizon, you know, loyal customers first. It's kind of interesting. But there's, you know, there's so many unknowns still. We don't know the pricing, you know, what the pricing plans will be. You have to assume it's going to be about the same as what they offer now, which are very similar to what AT&T offers, aside from the unlimited data, which we talked about. And then it's also not known what happens when the iPhone 5 hits. You know, does Verizon get that at the same time? Do they do kind of these off-cycle refreshes now? So there's a lot of unknowns there, but I do think a lot of people are going to, you know, rush out and get this thing. Obviously.
One more question I had. I know that you wrote about this phone not having LTE, which is, you know, 4G, the faster wireless network, and Apple's explanation was that they would have had to make concessions with the hardware, right? Like, do you buy that, or do you think it was just so that they have a different version to release a year from now or 6 months from now, and they get lots more money?
So they didn't specifically say hardware, but they said design choices, which means, you know, which is a vague way of putting a lot of things in there. Part of that is hardware potentially. You know, they might have to make it a little bit bigger because, you know, they haven't perfected the way to stuff all the components in there. But part of it is certainly the battery life hit that it would take. You know, we've seen this with several Android phones. When you have 4G on it, it's worse battery life than if you're just using 3G, which of course is the same as it was with versus Edge. And you know, you should point out, of course, that the original iPhone was Edge only, and then even though 3G was pretty prevalent at the time, and remember 4G isn't new.
Yeah, but see, I mean, we talked a little bit about this last week. Right, I think that the difference in terms of the mobile operating systems that were available when the iPhone was out, iPhone plus Edge was still superior to whatever the shitty OS plus 3G was that you could get before. Now, Android plus 4G, I think, is going to be better than iPhone with 3G.
Well, we'll see. It's still only going to be in whatever it is, you know, 20 cities or something like that. And, you know, end of the year it'll be several cities, but. You know, so maybe the iPhone 5 will have it. I don't know. Maybe it'll be next year. Who knows? Cool.
Well, I think that does it for this special episode of OMG JK. MG, enjoy. I know this is like the happiest day of your life. You should just like unleash all the hatred you have for AT&T, because really this is like the last time you're going to get to do it. You're going to have no excuse to use AT&T anymore. The past
couple of days with all those different posts, you know, calling some of their PR people and stuff. They're pretty mad. You know, what are you going to do? Come to New York and see how bad it is here. It's worse than in San Francisco. It's so bad.
Dude, I quit AT&T years ago. A year and a half ago. I'm good. All right. Sorry, y'all.